Welcome to the Market Mystics podcast, where we discuss what's happening in the cryptosphere and trading on Earth as it is in heaven. Buckle up and huddle on while we dive in and get weird. Here are your hosts, Joshua and Kim.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Mystic Tuesday with Joshua and Kim. What's going on today, Kim?
Oh, not a whole lot. I'm just back from another trip over the weekend. I said I was going on this trip. It was a trip. That's what I will say. Not just a voyage, but it was a trip, man. I don't know. What?
It was something.
It was something.
Nice. All right. Well, before we get into today's topic, let's just run through some quick market things. So we've got Bitcoin up 1.4% in 24 hours, up 9.5% over 7 days, sitting at 23,359, which I have to say is an improvement from when I woke up and looked at these numbers, because it was red for 24 hours when I woke up this morning. Ethereum is up 1.9% in 24 hours, up 15% in 7 days, sitting at 1,668. Ethereum has been doing relatively well with the news of their merger sooner than later to staking, proof of stake. And so actually the top mover in the top 100 is kind of related to that. It's Evmos. It's up 189% in 24 hours, and it is up 204% in 7 days, currently trading at $4.34. Evmos is a Ethereum bridge to the Cosmos system. And what I think is interesting is I remembered seeing Evmos before. I know it's been one of our top movers before. So I went back and found it. It was on June 23rd, and it was up 24% that day when we recorded, and it was trading at $2.11. So in less than 2 months, it's up over 100%. So, I mean, obviously the numbers reflect that in the trading numbers, but it's Ethereum is becoming popular with the moves they're making, or at least, I mean, they've been talking about this for quite a while. It's just now maybe has a little bit more legitimacy than it used to. And so I think you'll see some of the things that are connected to Ethereum. I mean, we know altcoins tend to move more than the main coin they're tied to. So the things connected to Ethereum probably percentage wise are going to move more than Ethereum did. And I don't know if the excitement has already burnt it through with Ethereum, or if that'll continue through the next month as they kind of roll it out. But that's something to keep your eye on.
True. I did read something this morning saying that the excitement over the completion of this stage of the Ethereum transformation has kind of started to fizzle out. So we might see things starting to kind of even out, at least on that front, or whatever's being fueled by that anyway. Right. I'll say though, with Evmos, this is pretty remarkable considering these are quote fingers, crypto winter.
Yes.
We've been experiencing. So to be 100% up over 2 months is pretty mind-boggling.
Yeah, I mean, that certainly shows what we've talked about before, but just going against the trend of the major coins. So when things have been sort of flat or up a little bit, Evmos is really doing something.
Yeah. I mean, obviously these kinds of giant gains are probably not going to be sustained.
Right.
But to see that it's still month over month, it's up. That's something to be noted.
For sure. All right. Well, moving into the subject of the day, we wanted to, you might notice the title of the episode is The Option of Rest. And it's kind of a play on what's going on in our lives. But Kim and I, you've heard us talk a lot about rest and how that's kind of a passion of ours, like helping people get into a state of rest and working from a state of rest and what that looks like. And it's been a journey we've been on, sometimes more successfully than others, but it's something we're pursuing. Like we're striving to enter that place where we're fully functioning from rest all the time. And sometimes better than others. And so, Kim mentioned she just got back from her trip, which was immediately after we got back from South Africa. And
Mhm.
so, physically, there hasn't been a lot of rest. And that doesn't mean that emotionally and spiritually you still can't be in a state of rest, but it's more challenging if you're not somewhere that is easy to maintain that. Uh, and so, yeah, we wanted to talk a little bit about that and how that connects to options. Is both of us today have had people come to us and ask about trading options on the normal stock market.
People who are very close to us who this would not be in their normal vernacular.
Yes, exactly. So it's just we can't, as traders, your biggest goal, and I would say as also as mystics, is to see patterns and things.
Mhm.
um, and to have that perspective where you can actually notice the pattern while you're inside the pattern. um, and so that's kind of, we were set down to talk today. I was like, oh hey, this person asked me about options, and I was like, wow, this other person asked me about options, and like, okay, well, there's a pattern there that we can't ignore.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that we're supposed to trade options, but it means, hey, this is something you need to ask, why is this happening in your life?
Right. It's like, hey, pay attention.
Yeah.
Come to me. I've got
There's
something. There's
yeah,
something.
there's something there. Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, okay, I'm going to backtrack a little bit and talk about rest. So I think one of the things you were talking about is like your body being out of rest. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're emotionally out of rest or you're spiritually out of rest. However, this is what I'm also going to say. As you're saying that, I was thinking about, we also talk about unity a lot, but one of the things we also really are constantly striving for is oneness within our own being. So spirit, soul, and body all being aligned and operating as one and not as three separate entities. As honestly, I lived most of my life like that, right? But I am constantly trying to get to that place where my whole being is operating as one. And I tend to think that this week, I'll just say I've been like out of rest, just out of rest. Just putting it out there. I'm not perfect. This is what I'm constantly striving for is rest. But we've just had kind of we had a wild July.
Mm,
That's just really what it was.
cool.
A lot going on, all of them good, a lot of things that are in alignment with our calling and what we're supposed to be doing. And so there's work associated with it. But I also have a responsibility within myself to stay in rest and source from that place of rest and not from a place of working, production, and striving.
Mm,
And I haven't done the best job of that. I'll just be honest. I haven't. Um, Personally, here's my story, and this is not a sob story, so don't take it as such. But I was pretty much sick all of July. I don't even know what happened. It was like first it was a sinus infection. I wound up going to immediate care the day before we left for South Africa, like less than 24 hours before our flight took off to get some antibiotics um, for the sinus infection. And if you know me, I don't tend to really love to go the medical route, but I had been trying everything else and it just wasn't going anywhere. So by the time we get there a couple days later, I'm feeling a lot better. And then like the next day I get a cold. And then I had a cold the whole time we were there. And then I really started feeling better from that. We came home. Um, and I came home to two sick kids. And then I had this trip over the weekend. I left on Friday morning. I woke up with a cough. And day one of my conference, I went to the first couple hours and then went and slept in the room for the next 24 hours. I was just like wiped out. And there was one point when I was laying in bed and I'm just like, oh, I don't know why this is happening. You know how you get when you're sick. It's kind of all woe is me sometimes. And obviously not in the best state of mind. But I was like, I don't know what's going on. And then I had this epiphany like, hello, it's me. This is your body telling you you've overdone it and I'm shutting down. So I was just kind of forced into this place of rest because my body just had it and it was showing. And honestly, I had to, and I'm still working on it. I am trying to reconcile that. And I don't want to abuse my body. I don't want to abuse my mind, will and emotions, my soul. I don't want to abuse my spirit. I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to work and strive and push things to their limits, because honestly, I don't want that. I know what the Lord's led us to. And we've talked about this a lot of times with rest. He spent a lot of time teaching us the importance of sourcing from that place.
Yeah.
And it really does show when you step out of that.
Yeah. It really is just, it's a constant journey.
Mm.
I'm not convinced I will ever be somewhere where I am exclusively operating from rest. But what my hope is to notice when I'm out of rest as that being like, oh, something's different here. I'm out of rest, because rest is just such a norm for me. I recently heard someone talking and they were using the term grace in the same way that I would use the term rest. Um, but they said they notice when they're not operating in grace, because inconveniences start to come their way. And they were like, I'm not saying this to brag, but I have trained myself, I have fought to get in this place where I'm operating in such rest, such grace, that it's noticeable when something that's not even this huge deal, but something that's inconvenient happens. I'm like, wait, this isn't the way it normally functions.
Mm.
And I think that's a powerful statement, because most of us are just like, hey, that was actually easy this time. Why was that easy? And, we had this conversation when we were in Africa just last month, because we were working on doing some filming and everything was just clicking. Like, the script was coming together, the filming was coming together, it was working the way we wanted it to work. And I mean, it wasn't that there weren't obstacles every now and then, but for the majority of the time, it just flowed. And I think that that's a really good sign that you're functioning from the right place when that's happening. And there could be 100 different reasons that it doesn't happen like that. And Kim and I, sort of before the episode, we're talking a little bit about that. Like, it could be um, a spiritual attack from the enemy, from somebody else. It could be that you're operating outside of the grace or rest for that moment, or it could just be that as you grow in rest, that you're constantly coming to a higher level and a higher level. And so the things that challenge that rest also change.
That's true. Here's example of what we were talking about with that. I was I was telling Josh, like, this is so out of the norm for me. Well, to be sick for a month at a time is not normal. I have a really good handle on my health and my diet, and my body just doesn't get sick a lot, but it did this month. But also when we came back, my only suitcase didn't come with us.
Yeah.
We just sat at the carousel in the airport waiting for it, and then it didn't arrive. However, I've been traveling all of my life. I am in my late 30s, and 2 months ago when we went, I also did not receive my luggage. And that was the first time ever. So the next time we travel, I also didn't get my luggage. And I was telling Josh, I was like, you know what? I could say, well, this is like, we talk about looking for patterns, right? So this is obviously a pattern. I could easily say, well, this must be a spiritual attack. Except that I don't actually believe that. I don't think that it is. I think that there's a pattern, there's something that's happening that I need to tap into, but I don't feel attacked by it. It wasn't devastating. It wasn't the end of the world. It was wildly inconvenient.
Yeah.
That was it. But I also think sometimes, I actually know this because the Father has shown me sometimes when he does this. Sometimes he gives me tests. Like I think, oh, I'm done with the rest training, right? It's been 1.5 years. I must be done. I'm graduated. I'm good. And then he's like, no, you still have more tests to go. Right. So it's like sometimes I think he allows things to step in our way and to provide a scenario that could potentially throw you out of rest. It gives you the opportunity to either stay on course or step outside of it.
Mm.
And I don't think it is a mean like trying to sabotage you in your work. I think just like in any training, there are tests for your ability to do whatever you're being trained in.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that I don't think it could have been spiritual attack or whatever. I think for my scenario, I don't think it has been. I think it is, can you stay in rest in this? And then, no, I wasn't staying in rest. And then my whole being going, this is where we're supposed to be. We're getting back there no matter whether you're with me or not, we're going.
Yeah. That's always fun when your body just decides, "Hey, it's been too much."
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess if I was going to kind of sum up this episode, I would just say in every situation in life, you're you're given the choice to pick between two options and where you're sourcing from. And that's really the most important thing, is to keep your source on the right spot. We talk a lot about the spirit of mammon, and really the difference between mammon and Yahweh is who you're sourcing from, because many of the things that mammon provides in your life, whether it's wealth or vehicles or houses or things, can also come through Yahweh. It just is a different source of supply. And when your source of supply is changed, the way you perceive life is different. Your rest is different. Your grace is different. Your love is different, because it's coming from a different place. It's coming from an unlimited supply, rather than if you're functioning from the earth, you only have so much grace until it runs out, and then you're going to snap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us today. See, that was me rewinding because I do have grace. So let me just say that, operating from rest. Thank you for joining us today, guys.
Love it.
I'm going to go get some rest, and I hope you guys do too.
All right. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you for listening. Join us every Monday and Thursday as we discuss trading on earth as it is in heaven. If you want to connect further, follow us on social media at market.mystics for Instagram and TikTok, and search for Market Mystics on YouTube and Facebook. If you still need more, follow the link on Facebook to book a coaching appointment. Until next time, see ya.